Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Routine Podcast.
Gymnastics Conversations.
I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chelsea's mom, Diana.
And we're back for episode 46.
Hello, daughter.
Hi, Mom.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready for, and I'm already skipping, but I'm ready for this weekend's coming meets.
I know. I'm actually ready for next weekend's meet that we're going to in Oklahoma.
Hopefully it's warm. Does it get warm in Oklahoma?
It does get warm in Oklahoma. I don't know if this is the season for warmth in Oklahoma.
Well, either way, I'm excited.
Should
be fun.
Me too.
Well, should we just hop right into it?
I think we should. I know where I was going to say, I'm not sure where I would hop. I would start with this upset that no one expected.
I know. Well, first we have to talk about the tweets and everything.
Oh, that's right. I always jump in before social media.
I get so excited.
Because it was like crazy.
Yeah, it was a really good weekend of meets, but people really, really enjoyed our last episode, which I'm really happy about.
How can you tell?
We just got a lot of great feedback about our episode with Kayla, and everyone was interested to hear her perspective, not only about where she's working now and her contributions to the meet Elevate the Stage, but also her perspective as a NCAA gymnast and a world champion.
Yeah. And I know when we interviewed her, when we talked about it, I said, I know it was a while back that she won the gold medal on vault at Worlds, but I still wanted to relive it with her.
Yeah. And it was fun because she hadn't, or at least it seemed like she hadn't thought about it in a while. So we were really jogging her memory through that interview.
Exactly. And again, the listeners couldn't see it, but the whole time she's talking about it, she's really smiling from ear to ear as she's remembering. We all got to relive it with her.
And speaking of, we got a tweet from @PoeticDiction. And she said, honestly, I think about Kayla winning gold in 2009 all the time. Last year, so many people, including myself, were rooting for Jade Carey to pull a quote unquote Kayla Williams. Silver is still amazing, but she's a legend. Love hearing her perspective on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, folks loved our conversation with Vanessa as well. We got a tweet from AB Gym that said, fantastic episode. Loved hearing from both Kayla and Vanessa. It's always interesting to learn about the different ways people are helping to expand the sport. So that was pretty cool. And we did love talking to Vanessa. Hopefully we'll get to talk to her again in the future. You know, every time I think we'll look at a highlight on ESPN, we're going to think if it's a gymnastics highlight that came from Vanessa.
Yeah. And I liked the interview because I loved speaking with people that are just as excited as us about college gymnastics.
Right?
It makes you feel just a little less like weird about it.
A little less nerdy.
Yeah.
But I think she was actually more excited than we were about gymnastics.
Really? I feel like, at least for me, that's like a hard thing to do.
Thanks, Sam, as a dancer, for helping us to get a new friend in Vanessa.
And Mom's going to be very happy about this. We have a voicemail.
We have a voicemail. We have a voicemail. Sorry.
From our friend, Dave Pendries.
Oh, we haven't heard from Dave in a while.
Well, hello. It's Dave Pendries here from New England. My compliments, as always, on the show throughout this season. The NAIGC show was very interesting. I actually just got back from a meet up at MIT, which had about 15, 16 teams, including gymnastics decathlon. How many times do you see a husband and wife in the same rotation? That's just amazing stuff. Plus, there was URI. The president of the Club Gymnastics Federation mentioned URI as one of the best teams in the country, and they showed it. They are not letting the fact that URI had their varsity team cut years ago stop them from doing high-quality gymnastics. And plus, there are plenty of other teams like BU, Simmons, and then there was the adult team from Cambridge Community Gymnastics that always does a great job. They have a fun dinosaur theme. It's a totally wild meet. But speaking of the varsity side of things, you know, there's been some fascinating things up here. Southern Connecticut's been breaking records all year. Yale's looking to compete and defend their Ivy Classic this weekend. Plus, you had Carolyn Nichols from Ithaca, who does her front handspring vault. That's very unique. And you've got a gymnast at UNH who does a Chustavitna on bars. So it's just been fascinating up here. Good luck for the rest of the year.
awesome voicemail. Thank you, Dave.
Absolutely. And I loved, obviously, all of it. I loved the NEIGC, the husband-wife team, but I especially loved when he talked about your alma mater.
Yeah, Southern Connecticut is doing really, really well this year. They brought in a freshman class that's pretty big, and a lot of them are very talented. But it seems like every meet they're beating some sort of record, which is really awesome.
That doesn't mean they've beaten one of your records, right, honey?
I think all of my records have been beaten.
Well, I don't actually know if you had any records.
That's why they've been beaten.
Congratulations, coach. Congratulations, Linda. And congratulations, team.
Yeah, it's very exciting. But what I really like about Dave is that he is located in the Northeast, where a lot of teams are located,
right?
Especially the lower ranked teams are in the Northeast. So keep doing your reporting, Dave. It's greatly appreciated.
It really is. It gives us a chance to hear about and learn about not only Division I teams, but Division II and III teams. And again, for us, it's also great because we get to touch base again with schools that you competed against or your alma mater.
So awesome voicemail.
Thank you, Dave. Folks, don't forget about the voicemails. You can hear from Dave. It's really helpful for us to hear your voice.
Yes, definitely.
And that in no way is all the tweets that we got. We have a whole lot, but in the essence of time, we're going to move on.
Yes. Thank you all for your great tweets this week. One thing that kind of spurred conversation was your comment last week about how there's been no 10s in the SEC.
Yeah.
And people are kind of like flabbergasted by that.
Me too. I was flabbergasted. And again, that continued this week.
Yeah, still no 10s in the SEC. I was like almost positive that Trinity was going to get a 10 on bars this week, but still didn't happen.
Well, and the thing is, and again, we look at it with layman eyes, not judges' eyes, but I don't know where they're making the deduction. I just don't know where.
So that actually goes right into our next tweets. Lauren Hopkins, who runs the Gymternet on Friday night before actually any of the meets started, put out a tweet saying that all of the NCAA judges got an email about kind of the judging situation that's going on. So I'll read it really quickly right now. It says, "It has come to our attention that name recognition, team rankings, or media exposure may be affecting scores given by some judges. This could result in some athletes being overscored or underscored due to reputational bias. Because of expanded coverage by television and social media, the scores you give are readily available for review by the gymnastics community as well as the general public. Make sure that your scores are justifiable when reviewed by knowledgeable professionals. Meet referee. Please review with judges prior to the meets."
Very interesting.
It's good to see that higher ups are seeing that there is some problems with the judging and it's not okay. Something needs to be done about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And, I'm not sure whether this is something they send out every year or they just specifically sent it out this year. But clearly from our discussion last week, there does tend to be a bias between, and I think that's where you and I fell, right? Where you were saying that 10s were being given out too liberally on the West Coast side of the house. And I was saying that not enough 10s are being given out on the SEC side of the house. So at the end of the day, I think it's what this email says or what this tweet says, which is just make sure that there is no bias in the decisions about how you're scoring, folks.
And unfortunately, this weekend, I'm sure a lot of people have seen this video of Shade Boone from UW Stout, who stuck a Yurchenko 1.5 cold and got a 9.6.
And again, I think we've had this conversation lots on the podcast. Judges are not robots. So there is going to be some subjectivity in what they do. That's why you have two judges and not one judge, right? So that you can average those scores together. Hopefully this notice, I guess, will help balance all that out. But at the end of the day, it's been another year of questionable judging.
I agree. Hopefully, we're moving in the right direction with that email. A lot of people are skeptical, but we'll see. We have to give it time.
We'll see. We definitely didn't see a change this weekend.
Yeah, Trinity still didn't get her 10.
No one in the SEC got their 10. But we did see 10s on the West Coast.
We did. And in the Midwest, there was a 10 given to Natalie Wuchek of Michigan, and that was very deserved. It wasn't her best vault, but she's been doing that vault perfect all season, so I am happy that she got a 10.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about meets in a minute, but I think there was at least one gymnast that was pretty disappointed that she hadn't gotten a 10.
Okay, Mom, we won't go there.
We won't go there, but I think that is the issue, right? When you stick all the landings and you do all that you do, how do you make that decision on whether it's a 10 or not?
Yeah, and that goes back to my point where there are gymnasts that aren't doing perfect routines that are getting 10s. So then those people that also aren't doing perfect routines, but are exceptional routines, expect to get 10s.
That's a good point, Chelsea.
And that's not fair. Like, I would be kind of pissed too if my routine was really good and I'm seeing other gymnasts doing routines the same as me getting 10s every other weekend. So
it's a good point. It really is. It's a difficult conundrum, I think.
And I guess that's just part of the sport being decided by subjectivity of judges.
Right. But again, I think last weekend we were not as nice to the judges. This week, I'm going to say that they are trained, they work hard, and I don't think there's any malintent that's happening. I just think it's the situation that they're finding themselves in. And hopefully with that email and hopefully with further discussion and further looks, they'll come to a balance. I think one of the things that email said, which I think is important, is because of social media and the expanded coverage by television, they now find themselves in the situation where when it's not equitable, people raise an issue. So that's the beautifulness of, I think, this expansion and further interest in gymnastics that we're now seeing.
That's very true. So although it's great that we're getting more coverage, like, it puts a lot more pressure on the judges. But
exactly. And that's why I think, they'll get through this season, but there'll probably be a big powwow throughout the summer, throughout the fall, to try to figure out how do they now respond better to this expansion of coverage and therefore more questions about how they're making the decisions. And as you said, their subjectivity.
So, Mom, I think it's your favorite portion of the podcast.
We've got another voicemail?
No.
Oh, my other favorite.
Meet recaps. How many pages of notes do you have this week?
I have 0 because you laughed at me last week.
What? I did not laugh at you. I was laughing with you.
And then at the very end, you said, who knows? Mom might have 5 pages of notes next week. So there you go. I now have 0 pages of notes.
You have mental notes though, right?
Yeah. And that's just not so good, but we'll do the best we can.
Okay. So I think we should start with Florida versus Georgia.
Yeah, that one I actually remember quite well.
That was a good meet, right?
It was an amazing meet. And you know what? I am so proud of Georgia. Spoiler alert, Georgia beat Florida. But what makes me excited about that, and I love Florida and I love Georgia, was that last year we were talking about Georgia and, we would kind of hang our heads. They didn't have enough gymnasts to compete. And look at them now.
In 1 year.
In 1 year. I'm just excited for them, excited for their success. And again, a shout out to Sabrina Vega. I do it every episode. But watching her on beam clutch when the whole Florida stand is, screaming in excitement about the scores of their gymnast on floor, she's just knocking down the beam.
Yeah,
routine.
You would never know that it was so loud in the gym.
No. And did you hear, I don't know if you heard Courtney, they interviewed her at the end, and she shared that they practiced this week in silence on beam so that they could all just be in their own head no matter what was happening. So that was pretty cool.
Whenever I was in college and it was known that we were going into kind of a rowdy environment, our coach would have us practice. We called them heckle routines. So we would have to compete a routine under pressure in practice. and our teammates would be able to yell and scream whatever they want at us
Oh,
while we were
wow.
on the beam. Yeah. So it's really a mental game.
Sure. And that would be really hard for your teammates to yell and for you not to lose it.
I know. Yeah. So they would like try and yell stuff at us to make us laugh and stuff. So,
and speaking of the heckling, again, we put that in air quotes. It was also fun this weekend. And I know we'll get back to this, but watching the Utah UCLA meet and watching the student section reading newspapers while the gymnasts were on beam.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's funny though, Mom, because like everything that you're bringing up, like the Michaela issue, the Utah issue, the Georgia winning at Florida issue, like are all like hot topics on Twitter right now. But because you're not on Twitter, like your point of view is like not tainted as my point of view is. So it's interesting to hear your take on it.
Yeah, that's funny because as you know, I don't ever look at Twitter. I only know what you send me in terms of those who've responded with tweets about the podcast. So I never know what's happening in the world other than in my own little brain. So that is funny. People are talking about the student section in the newspapers.
Yeah. We'll get there. Let's just finish.
Okay, sorry. Florida and Georgia.
So scores aside, I think the meet ended the way that it should.
I do too. You know, they both competed and one had a much better meet, not much better, but a better meet than the other team. And the team that competed the best won.
Yeah. Florida was just a little off that day. And that's okay. I mean, it's okay to have some adversity because it only makes you stronger as a team.
I totally agree. And the thing that I found it interesting is because, as you've always said to me, everybody's competing about the same skills and they're, all 10-0 start values in most cases. It's just which team is on. And so therefore any team can win.
Yeah.
And that's just what I find fascinating with NCAA gymnastics, that it's really about who performs the best that day, who's going to win.
And that's what's going to make postseason very, very interesting, especially now since there's only 8 total teams that will go to nationals and 4 that will only make it to finals. If one team has an off day, you're out and there's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't matter about your performance the whole entire year. You have to be on that day.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be an amazing postseason. I really do.
Yeah. And I have to add, at the end of the Florida-Georgia meets, Trinity Thomas actually left to go to the national team camp in Sarasota, Florida that same night.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, good thing it was in Florida.
I know. Isn't that crazy? So she's still going to national team camp, even though she's competing in the middle of NCAA season.
I wonder how hard it is for her to make those adjustments between the two.
I have no idea. And I wonder if she's training more hours in the gym. I don't know.
Well, we should do another interview with her.
Yeah.
She probably doesn't have any time for us.
No, she doesn't.
Well, to me, it would be interesting because obviously for college gymnastics, it's really about the perfection of the skill. And then for what she's doing for the U.S., it's really about how difficult the skill is. Gotta be complicated. But if anybody can do it, it's Trinity.
So the other meet that happened on Friday was Kentucky versus Alabama. I did not see that meet, but
I know it's not about me, but I watched that meet.
Oh, you did? What can you tell us about it, Mom?
Roll Tide. No, Kentucky did really well. That's what I would say. Kentucky did really, really well. They are getting more perfect and more precise with each and every meet. Again, it's those seniors, but they've also got this new incoming group that's really performing very well.
And they got a 197 plus for the 3rd week in a row.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting for them.
It really is. Again, this new post-meet format is going to be really interesting on who goes to nationals this year.
That's a team to look out for. LSU was at Arkansas, which was a pretty good meet. I think LSU had one of their better meets of the season. And Sarah Finnegan won all around again.
She did. But also for Arkansas, I think they had one of their highest scores as well. But I do think, to your point, the thing that was good about LSU is they weren't at home. So when we talk about RQS, this was a really good away meet for their high score. So that was really good.
You and I talked about this the other day, how we just like watching LSU because we know that they're working as hard as they can.
We call them scrappy. They're a scrappy team.
They are a scrappy team this year. Because you don't know how it's gonna turn out, and that's the most fun gymnastics to watch for me.
It is. I totally agree. But they're working their hardest to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Each and every gymnast is working their hardest to make it happen. And from a coaching standpoint, Dee Dee is pulling and pushing them on, right? Yeah. So it's just fun to watch because you don't know. It's like the opposite of watching Oklahoma.
Exactly. Like Oklahoma, okay, they're probably going to hit it, whatever.
Right.
But LSU, it's like, all right, come on, guys, you got this.
It really is. I love watching them. So you have that piece like you just talked about, and then you have Sarah Finnegan, right? So that combination where you've got these gymnasts that are going up, each and every one trying to do their best, and you're just pulling and your heart's like stopping, and then you can rest because it's Sarah Finnegan.
Sarah. Yeah, it's like a little break in the lineup. It's
right.
Like, all right, it's okay.
You can just watch beautiful gymnastics. Yeah, but to your point, she won the all-around, and she had a bobble on beam, but she still won the all-around, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and that was a crazy save. Her foot was off of the beam, and she still managed to stay on the beam without touching the beam with her hands, which is just like incredible.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, we've always, obviously we talk about Sarah a lot, but we talk about her personality, right? When we've met her a couple of times. And even when you see the bobble on beam, you don't see her get like crazy frustrated. She's still pumping her fist and pulling the team on. And Dee Dee has always said that, right? She's just like this great, quiet leader. Mm-hmm. So it's just fun to watch. It really is.
Since LSU is such a younger team, it's a great example for those underclassmen.
Yeah, exactly. They can watch and learn from her.
So I guess the time has come to talk about Utah versus UCLA.
Yeah, it was the meet that, the rivalry that continues. It was a good meet as well, right?
It was a really good meet. There was great gymnastics on both sides. And I feel like the scores were pretty even.
I do too.
It wasn't crazy home scoring at all.
Somebody got the memo, Chelsea.
Yeah, the judges saw the email.
That's right.
But I think both teams performed well.
I do too. I really did. It was beautiful gymnastics to watch.
And Kyla got another 10.
And a deserved 10.
Yes. And I tweeted, I guess it's a weekly thing for Kyla to get a 10 now.
Yeah. And I still, it's so funny when I watched Kyla on floor, I just remember the Kyla a season ago, right? Where that third pass was the difficult pass, but there's just there's nothing now. It's a beautiful double pike.
Yeah. She's so in shape. And I just love how humble Kyla is. Similarly to Sarah Finnegan.
You know what? It's funny you said that because I really think about that in that, why is it good that women athletes have to be humble?
Oh, here we go.
Because if it's a guy and they're saying, yeah, I knew I was going to do this, we don't think a thing about it. But if a woman athlete says, I didn't think a thing about it, we're like, oh, she's arrogant. She's not a team player.
No, I'm going to stop you right there because I also appreciate those athletes that show every bit of emotion in their performance and in their sport. If it's excitement, if it's anger, if it's frustration, if it's joy, I'm just as excited for them. I do also love Michaela on the other side, who was so into her sport,
right?
Who is so competitive and will do whatever she can to be the best that she can be.
Good. I like that. Then I agree with you 100% because I just want to make sure that women athletes can also be boastful about how good they are. And Michaela, let me just say, is good. And she knows it.
Yeah, and it's true because if you compare it to like a LeBron James or a Steph Curry, you wouldn't question them if they acted that way. They are just passionate about their sport.
That's true. But I also think there can be discrimination in the woman's sport too, right? So, if you've got a basketball player saying how great she is, that is seen differently than a gymnast that's, seen as a more elegant sport, so I think we just have to be careful. For me, just making sure that whoever they are, and if they're as good as Michaela is, do it, girl.
And if they're being their true, authentic self, you can't be mad at them for that. So that was a great meet. And then Elevate the Stage, which was a great meet. I think they had a great turnout there. And I think everything that they're doing is wonderful. Natalie Woodcheck, as I mentioned, got a 10-0 on vault. It was her first 10 ever as a freshman. So congrats to her. And University of Michigan was crowned the regular season champs.
Congratulations to everybody. And so now it's time for our part of the episode where we get to interview folks in the gymnastics community. We're excited because we get the chance to talk to Coach Derek Galvin. Coach Galvin is with UNC. And as you all know from our last season, they always do some really good thematic meets.
Yeah, UNC has been very vocal about these themed meets and having a greater cause behind them. And Coach Galvin shares with us what new meets they introduced this year and really why they decided to implement them.
We are joined by Coach Derek Galvin of the University of North Carolina. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing very well.
Good. So I think we got to start before we get into the specifics about all the great things your school is doing. How's the team doing this year?
Well, it has been an interesting year. We had one of our best team performances on balance beam this past weekend, so that was great.
Congratulations.
But unfortunately, our first event wasn't quite as strong, and so we're still learning how to be consistent on all 4 events.
I think that's probably like every coach's issue, right?
We choose a different event each week to be exceptional on and a different event to be not quite as exceptional on.
And here's the question as a coach. Do you kind of know, like after the first gymnast goes up, what kind of day it's going to be?
Sometimes, if the first gymnast up, particularly at a home meet, because we start on vault, we seem to get off to a really good start when we start on that event. I think a lot of teams do. When we're at away meets and we start on bars, it's sad to say this, but we're almost holding our breath to see how that first person does.
Yeah.
That's the tone for the rotation typically.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's true. I mean, bars is just a little more complicated, I guess. I mean, I would say that. I'm not a gymnast.
Yeah.
I think it's probably time to just talk about all the great things your school's doing. I'm sitting here looking at this beautiful flyer, and really it was like 30 days of, really exciting activities. Can we start with the Women's Day event that happened in January?
Absolutely. One of the things that we've done for many years is, and I know most of the schools around the country are doing this, but having a theme to go into each meet, something to add more to the experience other than just coming to an athletic event. With issues that have come up in the last few years, issues involving women's equality, women's health issues, there are a lot of things that we wanted to draw more attention to and create more conversation.
And just real quickly, when did you start this? How long ago was this that you, and was it you that decided to start this?
Well, we began with health related themes many, many years ago. We had a young lady on our team whose mother had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. This was back in 2003, 2004. And we wanted to do something to help support that family. And after talking with university administration, the idea that we came up with was having a health fair. And we brought in different resource groups that support families that are dealing with cancer, not only pancreatic cancer, but certainly breast cancer and other forms of cancer. And that event grew over the years. We would have the concourse area of our arena set up with different exhibits from various groups that provide supports for the cancer victims and cancer patients. And that grew. And we realized this could be a platform for doing more. And then about 4 years ago, I guess it was, a law was passed here in North Carolina, HB2, which was a law that was devastating for the LGBTQ community and for transgender community members. And we felt at the time, my assistant coach was Amy Smith, who's now the head coach at Utah State. And Amy and I both felt very disappointed that that type of law was in place here in North Carolina. We didn't want to necessarily get involved in the political discussion of it, but we wanted to show support of people in the LGBTQ community. And we decided to have an event that we partnered with Nike, and it was a Be True event. Amy did a lot of the legwork, the groundwork to get that event organized, and Nike was great in supporting us. And the administration here, I think initially they didn't quite know what we were trying to do. It wasn't that they were against it. I think they just weren't real clear on what our focus was. And we emphasized to them that we wanted to celebrate the beauty and the talents of everyone, regardless of gender or gender identity or sexual orientation. We all have gifts that we can share. And within our community, this is a very diverse community here in Chapel Hill. We wanted everyone in the community to feel that they were welcome. The response we got was tremendous. There were a few people who didn't agree with what we were trying to do, but their voices were drowned out very quickly by the people who supported what we wanted to do and what we were doing. And it was a very rewarding experience for our student athletes. They felt that they were taking a stand in support of the people around them in our community. The success we had in that first event really has kind of given us the energy and the fuel to do more of the same. We're all connected. And to not accept and not acknowledge our connection to other people is shortchanging everyone. And, with any organization that welcomes and promotes diversity and inclusion, they're going to be more successful. When we close ourselves off for whatever reason, because of whatever views we have, we're closing off talents and gifts that could be shared and enhance all of our lives.
Well, and I think what you've done, and not knowing whether you did that on purpose or not, is you've taken this sport where we worry about scores and worry about skills to be something much more important in terms of our ability to connect to each other and to our community. Can we talk a little bit about the North Carolina community and how they've responded?
In our local community, it's been fantastic. When we had the first Be True event, we set an attendance record. We had so many people who wanted to be a part of that event. And in the subsequent years since then, those are typically our highest attended meets. So we're just trying to spread that awareness to other parts of the state where they may not have had that opportunity.
And so we started with the Women's Day event on the 19th. We then did Diversity and Inclusion on the 26th. Mm-hmm. And is this a new one for February 9th, the Mental Health Awareness Meet?
That was. And this past summer, the Towson University has a student athlete on their team who had started an initiative at Towson University. And Vicki May, their head coach, shared some of that information with the other Eagle schools. And mental health has been a larger focus within the NCAA in the last few years. And I think anyone who works on a college campus has seen the shift in the mental health of students over the years. And the level of anxiety seems to be increasing on college campuses. So I think it's a very timely focus to look at it. And again, encourage conversation. I think if we can destigmatize the use of mental health resources, more people can gain from utilizing those resources. And we can better serve our athletes on our campuses, our student athletes, in our case, just making them aware that we have resources. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if things are just becoming a heavier burden than you feel you can handle, you don't have to handle that by yourself. There's people that are available and resources that are available to help with that.
One new transfer that you have on the team this year is Megan Rusica, and I know her story is pretty interesting. If you have the time just to give a short overview of her story, I think our listeners would really enjoy that.
Well, she started out at another school and unfortunately sustained an injury, and it was one of those injuries that takes a long time to recover from. It was an elbow injury. She decided to transfer closer to home because she wasn't able to do gymnastics anyway at that point. Transferred closer to home, went to a school that did not have a varsity gymnastics team. They had a club program, and it got her closer to her family. And she did club gymnastics a little bit and then realized that she really missed it. And when she, in her senior year, she was at Northwestern. She was looking at graduate schools, and the University of North Carolina had the program that she was interested in. And she contacted me, and she had gone back to training at in club gymnastics so she could train at a higher level than just a college club. It raised her skills back up. She's now a regular in our bar lineup, meets floor in some of the meets for us. She actually did exhibition floor this past weekend and did a really good job. But she's balancing a lot. She's in graduate school in statistics and operations research.
Oh, gosh.
So her brain functions in ways that I can only dream of. But, very, very bright woman, hardworking, so hardworking. And it's been a lot of fun having her as part of the team because, she brings a different kind of focus. I mean, she comes in and she pushes herself hard every day in practice. For someone who's kind of been out of the sport or lost the sport and then they get back in, they come back with a tremendous sense of urgency. And, she realizes this is her last year of college gymnastics and she wants to squeeze as much out of it as she possibly can. It's fun being a part of that with her. I was a competitor myself, and for all of us, it becomes such an important part of who we believe we are. When you lose it, whether it's because of injury or, for whatever reason, it takes a while to kind of get your balance back. No pun intended. But, I think for any gymnast that's returned from injury, hopefully they've returned to the extent that they can compete again. Their body will let them do that. They want to experience it. They want to get that feeling back. And I think we all would prefer to go out on our own terms at the end of our careers as gymnasts or athletes in any sport.
It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Coach, it's been wonderful to talk to you. It always is.
Thank you.
Just know at about this time next year, we're going to be calling you again.
Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully I'll have more good things to share with you.
And all the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. So as always, it was great fun talking to Coach Galvin. And again, really love all the work that they're doing at UNC and just kind of the expansion to the community.
I think it's really important. And as you can probably tell, it's spreading to all of the teams all across the nation as they're bringing themed meets to the meets that they host.
Yeah, they are making sure gymnastics means more than just a sport. So thanks, Coach Galvin.
So now let's preview the upcoming meets this weekend. We have Kentucky at Missouri. We have Auburn at Alabama, which is a great in-state rivalry. Should be really good meet. We have Georgia at LSU. Georgia coming off of that big win.
Okay, and now wait a minute. And we have, go ahead, Chelsea. It's my drum roll.
Oh, I didn't really know what you were doing, but okay. We have UCLA at Oklahoma.
And the crowd roars. And we're going. Yes. And we're headed that way.
Yes. And I think a lot of our listeners are also going. So if you're going, please, please, please tweet us, email us, let us know that you're going. We want to know.
Absolutely. And Chelsea, I can't wait to see you.
I can't wait to see you too.
Who are you going to be cheering for?
I don't know. Talk to me again the day of the meet. Depends on how I'm feeling.
Well, whoever you're cheering for, I'm cheering for the opposite team.
No, you know who I'm cheering for?
Michaela.
No, the judges. Please let it be a great scored meet.
Oh, it will be.
Let's not get too crazy.
I think it will be. There are going to be so many eyes watching that the judges are going to be at their best. Watch this. I bet you money on that one. They're going to be at their best at this meet.
I really hope so. So again, let us know if you're going. And if you like what you're hearing, be sure to rate us on the Apple Podcast app and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And if you would like to continue the conversation with us, you can tweet us at Routine Podcast. You can email us at info@theroutinepodcast.com, or you can leave us a voicemail on our website, theroutinepodcast.com.
By going to the website, looking at the top navigation where you'll see Be a Part of the Conversation. Click that. You will see a microphone. Press the microphone and record your wonderful voicemail.
And we hope you all enjoy this week's meets. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.